So I missed this one when it came out. Man, even just saying that now feels like I've destroyed any credibility I ever had. Seeing as this game has become a staple in the genre, Halls of Torment is one of the most beloved survivor-likes of 2023, which was when Vampire Survivors came out. That's really when this whole wave started. With 20,000 reviews on Steam, sitting at overwhelmingly positive, it's great. And man, was I missing out. This Diablo-inspired survivor-like is insanely fun. While it has a bit of a slow start, once it opens up, it earns its spot as one of the better survivor-likes. Even 3 years later, I still am having a blast playing it and can't think of something I would rather turn to at the exact moment. Why does this game work so well? And why is it still working? That's kind of what I'm here to talk about. So the first thing you notice is the art. And it's hard to overstate how much it's doing here, and I want to stop right there to make something very clear. I see people commenting that when I point out a game's artwork as part of why it works, that's a lame take. And I get why you might think that, but I don't think so. There's many games that work well, but their art style is not doing the game any justice. Rotato, for example, works despite its art, not because of its art. The same could be said of Slay the Spire. The art from these games later became iconic due to the game being good, not the other way around. For some games, it's simply the visualization of what's happening, but for others, it's relevant, and that's why I cover it in these episodes. This game looks like Diablo 1 and 2. It's got the pre-rendered sprites, the top-down perspective, the dungeon environment's lit in that weird way that makes everything feel slightly oppressive and dirty. Red health orb in the corner. Chasing Carrots leaned all the way in, and it works because the aesthetic drives the player to more of a Diablo-like mindset. And A, that gets people through the door, but B, Diablo had a specific feeling. The dungeon felt dangerous, the loot felt meaningful because it was specific. You got a ring that did a particular thing, not just plus 5% damage. Your character felt like it was assembled rather than generated. When something dropped, that changed your build, you felt it. Halls of Torment inherits that. The gear slots in this game feel different from any other survivor-like that was out at the time because you're actually equipping a character. You pick a helm, a chest piece, a ring, a trinket, the same inventory slot categories that Diablo used. And each piece has a specific function that interacts with your abilities in concrete ways. It's not just grab the highest number. A fire damage ring on a sorceress builds way differently than a fire damage ring on an exterminator. I probably wouldn't put the fire damage ring on the sorceress, but you get my point. It's because their ability kits work differently, and the items have a real identity. That's the Diablo framing at work here, and it holds up throughout this entire game. You're not assembling a toolkit out of whatever the slot machine offers you in a run. You're building a character, and there's a difference. Even today, there are more survivor-likes that steer into the equipment, but they don't steer into it quite as well as Halls of Torment. After a run ends, something happens that most survivor-likes skip or handle lazily. You brought the boss down, it dropped a Torment shard. Now you go back to camp and talk to the Scripter. The Scripter is an NPC you rescue from the frozen depths in an early game. You thaw him out of a block of ice with fire damage, which is already more interesting than unlocks in most survivor likes. And once he's in the camp, he lets you spend those Torment shards to permanently upgrade your character's base stats. Not globally, but each character. Your sorceress has her own progression track. Your swordsman has his own. You're not leveling a shared currency pot like you would in Vampire Survivors. You're actually developing individual characters over time. Don't get me wrong, there is a shared meta progression, but we'll get to that in a bit. To be clear, the Torment Shard is applicable across all characters you have. However, what it actually strengthens is unique to each character. So, if you have 15 Torment Shards, each character has 15 Torment Shards to spend. However, what stats you increase is specific per the character based on your own discretion. So, whenever you win a run, your favorite character can get better. That's what the cool part of this system is. It isn't necessarily the character you're using, but it's the character you like. The base numbers go up in the stats you choose to invest in, and the investment stays. And because the upgrade tracks are refundable, you can put them back and reallocate. It doesn't punish you for experimenting with a build direction that didn't necessarily pan out. A lot of games in this genre treat meta progression as a number that goes up so you feel like your time wasn't wasted. The shard system does that too, but tying it to individual characters means you have a reason to keep coming back to the ones you enjoy rather than just grinding the most efficient path. Elite enemies in this game will seek you out. You don't have to go find them. They come to you, and when you kill them, they drop gear chests. So the gear essentially finds you. In those chests, there's 3 pieces pieces of gear and you pick the one you want the most. That part is easy. What isn't easy is keeping the gear though, because there's a well somewhere in the zone marked with a compass arrow on the edge of your screen, and you can use this well to permanently send an item back to camp, and that will just never be lost. But you have to physically navigate to the well, and it only has one use per run. So while you're being pulled around the map, chasing ability scrolls, completing quest objectives, kiting enemy density away from areas you need to reach, the well is sitting there in the back of your mind the whole time, not because you can't find it, but because you have to actually get there to extract an item. When an elite drops something good, the immediate question isn't, do I want this? It's, do I use my well charge now, or do I hold this in my bag and keep pushing, because maybe a boss later on has an item I want even more? The only things that survive the run are what went up the well. Kill the Lord, die halfway through, doesn't matter. Anything still in your bag when the run ends is gone, which means the well is a constant low-level pressure on every decision you make about where you go and how aggressively you play. You found a ring that changes your build, there's 2 bosses left, well, the well is on the other side of this dense enemy cluster. Do you fight through to lock in what you have now, or do you keep pushing and risk losing everything in your bag in case the next boss has something you might want? Most of the time, you know roughly what you want to do. Then an elite drops something better than what you're holding, and you have to make that call with 20 minutes of momentum already on the line. That's the gear system. The loot comes to you, what you do with it is the game. The quest system is the thing that makes sure the game never runs out of reasons to send you somewhere new. There's 599 quests in the base game. They're tied to specific characters, specific stages, specific kill conditions, abilities used, you name it. Kill this boss with the sorcerers, reach this time left on a certain stage, kill a certain number of enemies with a specific ability. Working through them unlocks new characters, new abilities, new traits, new items. The unlock queue essentially never empties. I mean, it does at some point, but it's far in. Every session you sit down with a list of things the game is actively asking you to do that you haven't done yet. What that means in practice is that you're never just grinding. You're always 1 or 2 quests away from something you haven't seen, and because the quests push you towards characters and builds you wouldn't have chosen on your own, they end up being the thing that teaches you the game's depth from the inside. You unlock new characters by doing something specific with the current one. The progression is also the tutorial, which is also the discovery, all 3 at once. And that's kind of awesome. Most games in this genre run out of things to show you somewhere between hour 5 and 15. The quest board is specifically designed to prevent that ceiling from arriving. So here's the thing those 3 systems are actually doing together. The Torment shards reward you for finishing runs. The well rewards you for being in the right place at the right time and making the hard call under pressure. And the quest board rewards you for trying things you wouldn't have tried otherwise. Each one is pulling on a completely different instinct: survival, positioning, curiosity, and none of them overlap. There's a 4th system running quietly underneath it all. The gold you earn in runs gets spent at camp on permanent stat upgrades. Base health, movement speed, damage. It doesn't demand your attention the way the other 3 do. It just accumulates in the background and makes every other character slightly better over time without requiring a decision. It's the system that makes sure even a session where nothing else went right still moves something forward. It's the same system that's in Vampire Survivors and many other Survivor-likes. What Chasing Carrots built is a game where you cannot have a run that means nothing. The shard that you earned built a character stronger. The well decision happened and got you that piece of gear that maybe you've been looking for a while. A quest was progressed and unlocked a new ability that you knew nothing about. The gold went somewhere, and the Diablo aesthetic, the gear with the actual identity, and the dungeon that feels like a place worth navigating makes all of that feel like it belongs to a character you built rather than a session you survived. That's why this game is still being talked about in 2026, while most contemporaries from 2023 aren't. Halls of Torment just dropped the DLC back in 2025. Chasing Carrots is still building, and that shows you that the game is doing well. If you hadn't played it, it's $7 right now. If you've got it in your library unplayed, run it with a quest target in mind. Let the game show you what it actually is past the first couple hours. At first, I almost bounced off of it, and when I really gave it a chance, it has me hooked. I've been playing it more and more because I want to see all of the stuff the game has to offer. Anyways, guys, if you made it this far in the video, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to grow the channel right now and every little bit helps. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video. I stream Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, so feel free to stop by and say hi. As always, I'll be back later with another video. Peace out. And a special thanks to all our members for supporting the channel. You guys are what allows me to keep making these videos and doing what I love, so thank you.